All right, guys, we're going to cut straight to the chase with the newest winner in the Cup Series, but man, a Harley JRL trophy is sitting on your mantle. Mr. Austin Cindric, round of applause.
And Ryan Flores.
Oh, yeah, and Ryan
I don't
Flores.
have the trophy.
He changed front tires, had a little bit to do with it, but you had the most to do with it come Sunday night. You're wearing the jacket. You got the ring. You just look like a Daytona 500 champ, man. You're just like...
I don't know if I feel like it yet.
The aura is coming out of you.
The jacket definitely makes me feel cooler than I actually am. So
I don't know. You're cooler than the other 39 of us that tried to win that thing the other night. What about this guy? Kept your wheels on nice and tight all day?
wheels never fell off. They had an awesome money stop. We've literally only done one 4-tire stop the entire process with the next-gen car, and we got the lead from it. So Ryan did his job. I'm proud of him.
What do we say on here? Races are not necessarily won on pit road, but they sure are lost. But you could make an argument that when the 2 leapfrog the 6 on that last stop, that puts you in position to win.
100%.
Because we were talking about before we jumped on here that with the way the next-gen cars draft and the runs are harder to come by, you have to be in the front 2 rows to give yourself a shot to win. So at what point in time did you think you had a decent shot to take the trophy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to get to the end, and I feel like even after the duels, I felt like we had a pretty strong car, focused on the right things, handling wise, and I think I wanted track position by stage 3, no matter how it happened. I didn't really care about stage points, but once we were able to have that 4-tire stop and get ourselves in the first couple rows, it was game on from there. I didn't really care about wrecking. I wanted to keep ourselves up there because if we lost that track position, fall outside the top 10, I didn't think we were going to be able to get it back without a wreck or another pit stop or a strategy change. So we went aggressive on that. We went aggressive on the fuel strategy, and obviously kept us in position all the way through stage 3.
I see you rubbing the ring. Is it just so humongous that you can't stop playing with it?
I can't stop playing with it, but like my fingers are irritated. The amount of hands that I've shaken with this ring on, and it's a knuckle crusher. It is an absolute knuckle crusher.
I mean, you're giving somebody knuckles with that, and they're going home icing that sucker down.
It's like my fingers. Well, there's writing on the inside, and it's like completely destroyed my knuckle. I'm not going to complain. Good problems to have.
Good problem to have. You said you've been
problem to
shaking hands. How many babies have you kissed between now
I have kissed
and Sunday?
0 babies.
That's unfortunate.
They have yet to bring me a single baby.
Should have brought you crew in victory lane. My little man was pissed off in victory lane. Should have brought me. You would have not wanted one.
So the Daytona 500 is the one you dream about since you're a little kid. Having done it, having been in victory lane, the confetti going off, did it live up to the dream, or was it better?
So it's funny you mentioned the confetti because like you don't expect. I've never had confetti like when I've won races, but like I've never had like the confetti like explosion. Like the weirdest thing to me, like obviously Keystone Light sponsors us, and like they like throw a beer in my car. Is like make sure you hold that label out. I'm like, all right, like hey guys, you got one too. Like stand up. I'm like this was the new part for me, was holding up the beer as I stood on top of the car and not falling over. And then the confetti goes off, and it's like, oh my God, this is a big deal. And just the whole experience. I actually had a flashback to when we won the championship in 2020, and I crossed the start-finish line, and I didn't say a single thing on the radio until I got all the way through 1 and 2, because like I was just processing what happened through my head, and I'm like, right, I'm supposed to talk here. And NASCAR actually just posted our audio from the last couple laps, and they left in the awkward pause from the time I crossed the start-finish line to when I actually like said anything on the radio outside of turn 2. But just an incredible experience. It's been awesome to look back at the photos, look back at how Ryan and all the guys celebrated on pit lane. To me, that's the only thing that's really given me perspective to the gravity of that, because obviously I know how much winning the Daytona 500 means to Austin Cindric, but I don't know what it means to Ryan. I don't know what it means to Jeremy, to Doug, all the guys that have put so much into it. And there's a lot of guys on the team that have been trying for so long and come really close. And it just makes it that much more gratifying to be able to deliver that.
I'm glad you brought up Jeremy, because you had an infamous, thought you were going to suplex your crew chief in the middle of Daytona. Did you have a rough estimate of what your crew chief weighed before you picked him up?
Oh man, no, we're not going to go there. It's
I don't know. You got some pretty scrawny legs to be picking up a man that size.
Hey man, I put in the time in the Team Penske gym. I picked up plenty of big men in my day.
I went for when you turned around, because you were kind of hugging everybody. I turned around and I went for a launch, and I was like, "Don't hit my head on his helmet." But the one thing that the work we know what work you put in because I work with you and we're there. We know the work that you put in with Coleman, and our team is pretty strong. We've been together. Our pit crew's been with you for a couple of years, and then our road crew on the Cup side, we've been together, and we've almost won championships, won race with Brad. But a new piece was Doug Campbell, and Doug did a great job. What's the work been like with him this year? Because you're using Coleman before, and he's been new to all of us.
No, I mean Doug proved to me that he had the work ethic, and to me that's half the buy-in, and that's half the value in having a spotter. Because in my opinion, it's not just the speedways, but in all the races we go to, he's my second brain. He's the observation, and I spent a lot of time during Cup races last year on the spotter stand, hanging out with Doug, just knowing what his process is like. And like I said, I think being able to get the work ethic is half the battle, and for us to just be able to have that communication already this early in the year is really cool to see and have it play out.
What's it mean? I just saw a tweet today that this is now all three cars from Team Penske have won a Daytona 500. What's it mean to get that too in victory lane for RP?
It means a lot, and it's not for me. It's for your Dave Maneris, your Gary Brooks, the guys that have been showing up at Speed Week since Rusty Wallace, and that have been trying to win this race. And coming into the season, obviously taking over the 2-car. There's never been a rookie in the 2-car, and obviously the 2-car had never won the Daytona 500 until this weekend. And to be able to start my chapter in that car like that is a dream come true, because it's one of those things. It's a car that has a legacy of being successful, and if I don't do anything else in my Cup Series career, it's pretty amazing to think that I'm a Daytona 500 winner in the 2-car for Roger Penske.
So in victory lane, I got to ask you this because. My dad would probably be my biggest fan and supporter, also my biggest critic. So was your dad, Tim, wearing the boss hat, or was he wearing the dad hat in victory lane?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, he still is definitely, I think he was able to wear both hats that day, probably more than any other time in my career. But it was definitely cool to share that moment with him, and share that moment with my mom. I got to call my brother, who lives in Oslo, Norway, so we all got to kind of have a bit of a family moment on the stage there. But just awesome to be able to have everybody there and share that experience.
So we're sitting here with a fellow crew member here on your pit crew, Ryan Flores, changes front tires. Does winning the first race out, punch your ticket into the playoffs, change how you attack the regular season and the things you can try, maybe go off on a little bit of a tangent, learn some different packages of this next-gen car, and be a little more aggressive on road courses?
Yeah, I think it does give us the opportunity to be aggressive as far as from, like you mentioned, a car setup standpoint, trying to divide and conquer throughout our 3 cars, and be able to try and get an edge as quickly as possible. Because I think for really the first half of this year, that's where it's going to matter. So from that standpoint, yes, I think the aggression counts, and being able to get playoff points. I think that's where aggression matters. But for me, mentality-wise, it gives me the opportunity to be patient through the learning process, because it's easy to rush yourself. It's easy to want too much too fast, and miss out on some of the small details, some of the small lessons you might miss. So it does give me the flexibility to do both and really try and execute.
So we raced alongside each other at Atlanta when you first came in last year with driving the 33 car, and obviously once you figured it out, it was like ting, 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 and I didn't see any more of the 33 car. But now that you're sitting here, I wanted to ask you, what's the biggest difference? Maybe not even so much it's harder. What's just the difference between Xfinity and I guess you haven't went full-time Cup racing, but what's that jump like?
Yeah, well, I think Atlanta is a perfect example. A lot of the Cup races that I did last year, I had to start last, had no points, and I had to work my way through the pack. And with doing that, you get to either pass or be around most every driver in the field. And to that point, yeah, we spent a lot of time around each other. And obviously at that point, I'm in a Penske car, like Blaney's leading this thing. He ended up winning the race. I'm like, man, I'm sitting here running 20th.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do more than that. I mean, there's a lot more into that race, but I have a huge respect level for just the competitors. I mean, between yourself, like, I think in that race specifically, you and like Ryan Preece, like, made every right move on every restart, the lane choices, and like, I'd never raced for 25th before. Like, so I don't know where you're supposed to even line up.
It's a grounded pound.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot, and like, flash forward to Kansas, like, I was able to learn from being around you, from being around Ryan, like, okay, these are the things you have to do when you're in those positions. And there are going to be times this year that I'm going to be back in the pack trying to work our way forward. And there's going to be highs and lows in a rookie season, and working with a new car, and very valuable experience. But just the depth in the field is pretty massive. But just like anything new, you have to learn your competitors, and your competitors have to learn you. So I think those are the biggest differences coming off of 4 years in the Xfinity Series with a lot of the same stuff, working around the same car. I think those two things are probably the most different thing that you can't really prepare for.
How much do you think, like how much does winning the 500 go in terms of like earning the respect of guys in the top 15 that you're going to be racing with week in and week out? Do you think it translates, or do you think you have to pay the same amount of dues the first little bit of the season by the time the playoffs come around and those guys are used to racing with you?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's for me to decide.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, for me, I think you can only do so much from a social standpoint to really feel like you're one of the guys. I mean, for me, I've gone about things differently most of my life. So from a respect standpoint and from a competitive standpoint, I look at my only way of earning respect truly in this series is to be constantly relevant and constantly around, and eventually they'll accept the fact that you're up there and you deserve to be up there because it's consistent, and they might as well have to deal with it. So for me, that's how it was in the Xfinity Series, coming up through. So it's something that is obviously a process for every rookie, and everybody goes through it differently, but I think it goes back to performance pretty much every time.
No doubt. I know you've had a long day of media. On the Blue Deuce Day, it's not even blue, it's black and red. We've talked about this before, I'm confused. But it's 2/22/2022. I mean, it was just
Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's meant to
Tuesday. I mean, it was meant to be. It was meant to be for you here. By the time they're listening to this, it's probably 2:23, but irrelevant. You're here now.
Still a palindrome. It's still a palindrome.
I don't know what that means.
Same front
But
ways as back
Austin
ways.
Cindric's here on
race car.
Stacking Pennies with
Yeah,
it.
like race car.
Yeah, sure.
Mom.
What are y'all talking about right now?
He knows. He knows.
I
what's
know.
up.
Yeah, he's smarter than I am.
Palindrome.
These two have the same.
You
they
think
have the
that
same
you think
sense of humor.
you think palindrome would be a palindrome, but it's not.
It's not. Yeah,
Like
I
you
hate
think
that.
whoever came up with that word, it must be someone's name.
Or it was just like an
Sir
inside
palindrome.
joke with them that they were like, you know what? Same front ways as back ways. We're gonna call it something different. We're gonna call it a palindrome.
And now no one's listening.
But if you haven't tuned out yet, we're going to ask some would you rather questions. I'm just going to ask you the one. It's my favorite one. Have you been on here before? Have you been asked this question?
You haven't asked the question yet.
Have you been on Stacking Pennies?
I've not been on.
Then
set.
you haven't been asked a question.
Okay.
Only specially invited guests, and since you have a Harley J. Earl trophy in your possession, you're allowed on the show. Or unless you're the host and you don't win at all, then you're me. If you could choose one car and one racetrack to race at for the rest of your life, what are you going with?
One car and one racetrack to race at the rest of my life. I'd take a high downforce car to Road Atlanta. Just any high downforce car, whether if it's a prototype.
No, you got to pick one.
Oh, geez. Well, I haven't driven all of them yet.
I don't. Just pick one. F1 car? I don't know.
It's too tight for an F1
And the
car.
neck will stick out.
Well, you have to chop the front off so your legs stick out the front.
Yeah, that's true too. My head would definitely be covering up the air scoop. We'd have some overheating issues. If I'm literally running the entire rest of my life, we'd go through a lot of engines.
Yeah. You haven't picked the car yet.
Oh my God. I don't know, man.
I know those Penske Acuras.
Get like
do they even have the
get like
Acuras
a
anymore?
90s Indy car.
Yeah.
Like a mid 90s Indy car,
Oh.
1,000 horsepower.
Yes.
Just enough downforce to where you can go flat through the S's. There you go.
There you hear it from the man himself. Daytona 500 champion, Mr. Austin Cindric. Thank you for joining Stacking Pennies.
Thanks for having me.
Easy on the knuckles.